Some conversations change your life forever. The moment before she spoke, I was just a regular guy having a regular evening. The moment after, I became someone else entirely, a man whose entire world had been built on lies. If you've ever had someone you love look you in the eyes and shatter everything you believe to be true, you need to hear this. Hit that subscribe button right now, because what my wife confessed that night wasn't just betrayal. It was a calculated deception that had been unfolding right under my nose for months. It was a Wednesday evening in October. I remember because we'd just put up Halloween decorations with our two kids earlier that day. Our 7-year-old son Lucas and 5-year-old daughter Mia had been laughing, stringing fake cobwebs across the porch. Everything felt normal, good even. My name is Daniel, and my wife Rachel had been acting strange for about a week. Quiet, distant. She'd stare off into space during dinner, barely touching her food. When I'd ask what was wrong, she'd force a smile and say she was just tired from work. But that Wednesday night, something broke. I was on the couch scrolling through sports highlights when she walked into the living room. Her face was pale, her eyes red and swollen like she'd been crying for hours. She'd changed out of her work clothes into sweatpants and one of my old college t-shirts, the outfit she wore when she was feeling vulnerable. "Daniel!" Her voice cracked. "We need to talk." My heart immediately started pounding. Those 4 words. Nobody ever says we need to talk before delivering good news. "Okay," I said, pausing the TV. "What's going on?" She sat down on the opposite end of the couch, not next to me, but as far away as possible while still being on the same piece of furniture. That should have been my first clue. "I need to tell you something," she whispered, her hands trembling in her lap. "Something I've been hiding from you." The room suddenly felt too small, too hot. "Rachel, you're scaring me. What is it?" She took a shaky breath, tears starting to stream down her face. "I've been having an affair." Time stopped. Those 5 words, "I've been having an affair," hung in the air between us like poison gas. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. My brain kept trying to process what she just said, but it was like trying to solve a math problem while drowning. "What?" It was all I could manage. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to happen. I never wanted to hurt you." "Who?" My voice sounded strange, distant, like it belonged to someone else. "Who is it?" She hesitated, and in that hesitation, I knew it was going to be worse than I thought. "Greg, my supervisor at work." Greg Morrison. I'd met him twice. Once at Rachel's company holiday party last year, where he'd shaken my hand and told me what a lucky man I was. Once when I dropped Rachel off at work and he'd waved at us through the office window. He was married, 2 kids. His wife's name was Jennifer. I remembered because Rachel had mentioned they'd gone to some work spouses dinner thing together a few months ago. "How long?" I asked, my voice eerily calm despite the hurricane of emotions tearing through me. 4 months, she whispered. "It started in June." 4 months. A third of a year. All those late nights she said she was working on a big project. All those weekend emergency meetings. All those times she'd come home smelling like different soap, claiming the office had changed their hand soap brand. Lies. All lies. "Tell me everything," I said flatly. "I want to know exactly what happened." She did, and with every word, every detail, I felt pieces of myself breaking off and floating away. It started at a work conference in June. They'd been sent to Seattle together for a 3-day training seminar. On the last night, after too many drinks at the hotel bar, they'd kissed. Then they'd gone to his hotel room. "It was just supposed to be that one time," she said through her tears. "A mistake we'd both pretend never happened." But it didn't stop there. When they got back to the office, he started finding excuses to work late with her, reviewing reports, preparing presentations, meetings that turned into dinners, dinners that turned into more hotel rooms. "How many times?" I asked. "I don't know. Maybe 20 times?" 20 times. Well, I was at home putting our kids to bed, reading them stories, being their father. While I was making her coffee in the morning and kissing her goodbye, trusting her completely. Do you love him? The pause before she answered told me everything. I don't know. I think. I think I might. That hurt worse than anything else she'd said. I could, maybe, eventually, forgive a drunken mistake, a moment of weakness. But falling in love? That was a choice. That was deliberate. Over the next few days, I moved through our house like a ghost. I couldn't sleep in our bed. The thought of lying where she'd probably fantasized about him made me physically ill. I spent nights on the couch, staring at the ceiling, replaying our entire relationship and wondering where I went wrong. Rachel tried to be attentive, tried to show me she was sorry, but her apologies felt hollow. Every "I'm sorry" was followed by a "but." But I was feeling neglected, but you were always working, but we'd grown apart. None of it was an excuse. None of it justified what she'd done. On Saturday, while Rachel was out with the kids at her mother's house, I did something I'd never done before. I went through her things. Her phone, her laptop, her purse. I needed to know the full scope of this nightmare. What I found made me physically sick. Text messages. Hundreds of them. I miss you. Can't wait to see you tonight. Leave him, be with me. Photos I won't describe but that left nothing to the imagination. Hotel receipts charging our joint credit card. I'd been paying for her affair without even knowing it. But the worst part? The lies she'd told me weren't just covering up the affair. They were part of a larger plan. In her email, I found a draft she'd written but never sent to her lawyer. She was planning to leave me. She'd been researching divorce attorneys, custody arrangements, how to maximize her share of our assets. She'd been building an exit strategy while still sleeping in my bed every night. When Rachel came home that evening, I had everything printed out and laid across the dining room table like evidence at a crime scene. "We need to talk," I said, echoing her words from days before. She saw the papers and went white. "Daniel, I can explain." "Explain what? How you've been planning to leave me for months? How you've been using our money to pay for hotel rooms with your boss? How you told him you love him while telling me you don't know how you feel?" She tried to speak, but I held up my hand. "I found the email to the lawyer, Rachel. I know you've been planning this. You weren't confessing because you felt guilty. You were confessing because you were getting ready to leave and wanted to look like the honest one." The mask dropped. For the first time since her confession, I saw something other than tears and guilt. I saw calculation. Cold, hard calculation. "You didn't supposed to see that," she said quietly. "Obviously not. Tell me something. Were you ever going to tell me the truth, or were you just going to file for divorce out of nowhere and make me look like the bad guy?" She didn't answer, which was answer enough. I didn't yell. I didn't throw things. I didn't give her the dramatic confrontation she probably expected. Instead, I did something far more effective. I gathered every piece of evidence I'd found. Every text message, every photo, every hotel receipt, every email. I organized it all into a comprehensive file. Then, I made 3 copies. The first copy went to a divorce attorney, the best one in town, someone Rachel's draft email had specifically mentioned wanting to avoid facing in court. The second copy went to HR at Rachel's company. Because here's the thing about affairs between supervisors and subordinates. They're not just immoral, they're a massive liability. Greg was her direct supervisor. The power dynamic made this a textbook case of workplace sexual harassment, even if Rachel claimed it was consensual. The third copy, that went to Jennifer Morrison, Greg's wife. She deserved to know what her husband had been doing. She deserved the chance to protect herself and her kids, just like I was protecting mine. The fallout was swift and brutal. Rachel's company launched an immediate investigation. Greg was suspended pending review. When the investigation concluded, he was fired for violating company policy and creating a hostile work environment. His marriage ended within weeks.
Rachel wasn't fired, but she was transferred to a different department with a different supervisor. Her career at the company was destroyed. The career she had supposedly worked so hard to build, the career that had supposedly made her feel alive in ways I couldn't, was in ruins. Rachel tried to fight me on custody, tried to claim that I was being vindictive, that I was poisoning our kids against her, but I had something she didn't: the truth, and proof of everything she'd done. My lawyer presented the evidence of her affair, her deception, her using marital funds to support her relationship with another man. We showed her draft email to the lawyer, proving premeditation. We demonstrated a pattern of lies and manipulation. The judge was not sympathetic. I got primary custody of Lucas and Mia. Rachel got supervised visitation every other weekend. The house was mine, the savings were split, but I got the larger share because of the marital funds she'd misused. She also had to pay child support. It's been 6
months since Rachel's confession. The divorce is finalized. Lucas and Mia are adjusting to the new normal. They ask about their mom sometimes, and I never badmouth her to them. They'll figure out the truth when they're older. Rachel moved into a small apartment across town. I heard through mutual friends that she and Greg tried to make it work after both their marriages ended, but it fell apart within weeks. Turns out relationships built on betrayal don't have strong foundations. Who knew? As for me, I'm rebuilding. I'm relearning how to trust, though it's slow going. I'm showing my kids what integrity looks like, what it means to have principles and stick to them even when it's hard. Every Halloween, when I see those decorations we put up the day before Rachel's confession, I remember. I remembered the man I was. Trusting, naive, blind to what was happening in his own home. But I also remember the man I became. Someone who wouldn't let betrayal define him. Someone who fought for his kids and his dignity. Someone who learned that betrayal doesn't mean letting people face no consequences for their actions. Here's what I learned from all of this. Betrayal reveals character. Not just the character of the person who betrayed you, but your own character too. When Rachel confessed, I could have begged her to stay, promised to change, blamed myself for not being enough. That's what she expected. That's what would have let her continue controlling the narrative. Instead, I chose self-respect. I chose to protect my children. I chose to expose the truth and let the chips fall where they may. Did I get revenge? Yes. But it wasn't petty revenge. It wasn't slashing tires or posting angry rants on social media. It was using the truth as a weapon. And sometimes the truth is the most devastating weapon of all. If this story resonated with you, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment if you've been through something similar and how you handled it. Share this with someone who needs to hear that betrayal doesn't have to destroy you. It can transform you into someone stronger. Because at the end of the day, the best revenge isn't hurting the person who hurt you. It's building a better life without them and showing them exactly what they lost when they chose lies over loyalty. Trust is everything. And once it's gone, no amount of tears or apologies can bring it back.